So we will see what is there today to be done. Swami Shivananji is in Uti. So what is he going to talk about? The spiritual atmosphere of the Nilgiri. The master is my Paramatman. The conditions required for high spiritual experiences, and I am his slave. Renunciation is essential. These are the topics on which Maharaj will discuss today. So, like I said, the place is Uti and time is 1926. Mahapurusji reached the Nilgiri hills from Madras on the 4th June and stayed there at Sri Hathiramji Mutt, the summer residence of the head of the temple of Balaji at Tirupati. The climate of Uti is very beautiful and the scenery is charming. The altitude of the place is about 8,000 feet above sea level. In those days, it was also the summer residence of the governor of Madras. Mahapurushji had visited this place once before in 1924 when he had stayed for some months in Krug, about 10 miles from Uti. At that time, he had laid the foundation stone of Ramakrishna Ashram at Uti. After coming here, Mahapurushji spent his time mostly by himself. He did not much like to mix with people. All the same, the local devotees came to him every afternoon, heard him talk on spiritual matters, and returned home with his blessings and their hearts full of joy. His spiritual disposition began to attract more and more devotees. Apart from such spiritual ministration, he remained absorbed in his own self, merged in the infinite Brahman, the existence, knowledge, bliss absolute. His mind seemed to be getting gradually more and more withdrawn from the things of the world, and he became more reserved and indrawn. The only expression of life on the ordinary human plane that one could notice in him in those days was when he talked and kept company with the simple hill boys and girls. When he went out for his walk in the morning and evening, he used to have in his pockets a few sweets and coins, which he distributed on the way among those innocent children, and he mixed with them wholeheartedly as though he was one of them. When he sat alone in his room in Sri Hathiramji's mutt, he closed his eyes or he looked at something far away with vacant eyes as if his mind travelled in some supersensuous plane. One felt awed when approaching him at such moments. Often he would say that he would free himself from all the responsibilities of the head of the Ramakrishna Mutt and mission and spend the rest of his days in deep solitude of the Nilgiri hills. His mind remained completely detached from everything, above all mundane entanglements. One day, he was sitting quietly in his room after his morning walk with his face towards the wide glazed window. His eyes seemed to be fixed on the blue hills spread before him like huge waves. One of his attendants, who happened to enter the room just then, noticed him sitting thus in an abstracted mood. Feeling rather alarmed, he asked, "Maharaj, do you feel unwell?" It looked as if the question did not enter his ears fully, though it disturbed the current of his thought. He opened his lips and said, as if in continuation of the thought running through his mind at that time, "Listen, the spiritual atmosphere of this place is very elevating. The mind naturally runs after the infinite. I had no idea before that this place was so full of high spiritual inspiration. Now, as the days roll on, more of it is being revealed to me and making me mute with wonder. I now think of the infinite grace of the Master that he should have brought me here for the very purpose of giving me the bliss of such divine realization. I had the same kind of feeling when I was in the Himalayas many years ago. The mind has a natural tendency towards meditation, and it soon becomes quiet and serene. It takes some effort to bring it down. Many saints and rishis must have undertaken deep spiritual practices here. They have left the place surcharged with great spiritual power. It is very conducive to spiritual practices. C and other remarked the other day that the forests are here abundant in fruits of various kinds. Maybe the rishis lived on those fruits and spent their days in spiritual practices. He kept silent for some time and then continued. The other day, when I sat thus, looking quietly at the blue ranges, I noticed somebody coming out of this body and spreading over the whole world. With those words, he closed his lips. After a long while, he drew a long breath and said, "The Master is my Paramatman, the Supreme Self. It is He who pervades the whole universe. A quarter of His is this whole universe. His other three immortal quarters are in the bright regions." Struck with wonder, the attendant kept silent for a moment and then said with folded hands, "Shall we never have any of these realizations, Maharaj? I cannot even slightly perceive what speciality there is in the spiritual atmosphere of this place." Mahapurushji, look here, my son. It is He alone who can bring about any realization. Hold fast to Him, weep and pray to Him. Out of His grace, He will grant you everything at the right moment. He is the master of our minds. He is the Supreme Self that has come down as our master. If He, out of His grace, but turns the mind even a little, then this very restless mind, mad as an elephant as it is, becomes calm and gets lost in samadhi. It gives up all attachments to worldly things once for all. How can one reach high spiritual states unless the mind becomes very fine? Again, can the mind rise to the supersensuous plane all of a sudden? It requires long spiritual practice. One can have the higher spiritual realization only when the mind becomes finer than the finest and attains a high level of consciousness. The spiritual mood becomes manifest through a mind that is purified. As the mind reaches higher levels of consciousness, spiritual realities of greater order begin to reflect in it. What is essential is to have faith and devotion at His lotus feet. When that is there, everything is achieved. As the news of Mahapurushji's stay at Uti spread, many devotees from all over Madras state gathered there to have his blessings and to be in his holy company. They all returned to their homes with their expectations fulfilled and with fresh inspirations for higher endeavors. Many devotees came from Malabar, Kerala as well, and they were all initiated by Mahapurushji. One of them prayed for Mahapurushji's blessings on the eve of his departure and said, "I had not the good fortune of seeing the Master. You are my Master. You are my highest refuge. At this, Mahapurushji affectionately said, "You should not speak like that. He alone is the supreme refuge of all. He is the Lord. You must have read in the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna how he would say that the wave belongs to the sea and not the sea to the wave. I am a mere slave of his, having taken refuge at his feet. In the Gita, Sri Krishna says that he is the goal, the supporter, the Lord, the witness, the abode, the refuge, the friend, the origin, the dissolution, the substratum, the storehouse, and the seed immutable of all things. God is everything. He is the basis of everything. It is only by virtue of merits earned in many previous lives that you have come under the protective care of Sri Ramakrishna, the incarnation of this age. And an insignificant servant of his has dedicated you at his blessed feet. Your life is fulfilled and it gets a fresh leash by this dedication at the feet of God. Shankaracharya has said three things, namely a human birth, a longing for liberation, and the blessings of a great soul are rare indeed and can be had by the grace of God alone. They are indeed difficult to obtain and can be had by divine dispensation alone. By your good luck, you have got all the three treasures. Now get merged in the ocean of God's love and you will become immortal. In the Vaishnava scriptures, they have a beautiful saying. One has the grace of all the three, the Guru, Krishna, and Vaishnava, and yet, in the absence of the mercy of one alone, one's own self, one goes to rack and ruins. One may have the grace of God, the mercy of a guru, and the benign help of a great devotee who has known Vishnu. Yet, everything comes to naught without the favor of one, that is, one's own sincere effort. And so the poor creature cannot get liberation. In your life also, you are lucky to have all these factors. Now, with the help of what you have received, be absorbed in your spiritual practice, attain immortality, become immortal yourself. You will then be free forever from this endless circles of birth and death. The devotee, kindly bless me so that I may lose myself in my spiritual practices and never more be entangled in the net of this worldly life. Mahapurushji, I tell you this only because you have been blessed by me. I bless you from the bottom of my heart that you may devote yourself wholeheartedly, your heart and soul put together, at the feet of the Master. Really speaking, my son, blessing is the only thing we have. How can I express the joy we feel when we come across somebody who wants to reach God or even makes the slightest effort in that direction? Those who want to become free from bondage of this world and make a sincere effort towards the end are very dear to us. The Master came to liberate bonded souls, all from bondage. We too are his servants, clinging forever at his feet. The only task in our life is to draw people towards God, to help them to proceed towards him. That is why the Master brought us with him and still keeps us here. Until our last breath, we shall be teaching that alone, telling people how they can attain God. This world is ephemeral. It lasts for a few days only. What is the trouble that you are here? And still, how strange it is that people become so engrossed in this momentary existence. They become so mad after the fleeting happiness of this world that they entirely forget the real aim of life. Such is the play of Maya that deludes the whole world. Mind you, my son, you are still a young man. Your mind has not yet been stamped with worldliness as yet. I tell you, the essence of it all, the one thing that we feel in the innermost recess of our heart, nothing can be achieved without renunciation. That is why the Upanishad declares it was through renunciation that some rare souls attained immortality. It is through renunciation alone that one can become immortal. Yoga and bhoga, union with God and sense enjoyment, cannot go together. One cannot get any taste of the bliss of Brahman unless one gives up the happinesses of this world. The Master drew a true picture of the world in a few simple words. The world consists of lust and greed, or woman and gold in his own homely phrases. It will not do to have mere external renunciation. One must eradicate from one's very mind any desire for women and gold. Tulsidas also says, Ram cannot be where calm or passion or lust is. One must give up the desire for all worldly enjoyments if one would want to realize God. So it is not just he's talking to this devotee, he's talking to us all. So maybe we also be able to renounce, at least within our minds. Please stay tuned to Devakshar, like and share our videos, and do subscribe to our channel if you already have not. Thank you so much for being with us. Namaskar.